Welcome to T-rizzle's Variety Hour. I'm Trent Price, your host, and you're listening to the online release of my interview with Arthur Rice of the Kingdom Heirs. We recorded this interview October 15th, 2021, and I aired the interview on my radio show October 21st, 2021. I hope you enjoy our conversation about the Kingdom Heirs music and the Southern Gospel Music Association, of which Arthur is the president. Thanks for listening. So I'm in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee at Dollywood with Arthur Rice, the current lead singer for the Kingdom Heirs and also the current president of the Southern Gospel Music Association. Thank you so much, Arthur.
Absolutely, buddy. Thanks for coming over.
Yeah, of course. I wanted to talk a little bit today about your life and career and the SGMA and all that good stuff. Yeah. So would you tell me, well, first I would say I'm certainly glad to have an Asheville native on the show.
It's absolutely.
First, just tell me a little bit about, how did you first get into music and what got you interested in Southern Gospel?
Well, I grew up there in Weaverville. Actually, we lived, we had an Asheville address and a Weaverville phone number. So I always tell people that neither one of them claim me. So, but I always say I'm from Asheville just because of my address. But, I grew up in a very musical family. My mom and dad and my oldest sister, used to sing, and my dad sang in several quartets through the years. And I would sing some with them, and they would stand me up in a chair as a kid at church and sing. And then my dad was singing in a quartet. When I was about 7, I started playing bass guitar and started kind of picking that up a little bit. And I started playing for his group, and that's kind of, and then when I was 4, I would sing a few songs, and then my voice changed when I was about 13. So I started singing lead in his quartet when I was about 14. Sang with them through high school, and actually my mom, right after my voice changed, my mom took me to a voice teacher there in Asheville, Julian Brookshire, and some folks may remember him, but I took voice lessons for about 7 years when I was about 14 years old. So that kind of gave me my start. He taught opera, but he, instead of kind of thumbing his nose up at Southern Gospel music, he helped me to sing it correctly, and with that, and so that was that gave me a good training early, and so and then I sang with a few more groups and that sort of thing after high school, and then I joined the Kingsmen Quartet when I was 23, and I was there for about 5 or 6 years, and then I sang with. I came off the road in 1989. And my dad had a brain aneurysm, and so I felt like that he survived, but he had some issues with that, and so I felt like that I needed to come home and kind of help him with the family business, and so I came off the road for a little while, and then I started singing with Squire Parsons. Many people know Squire. He lives there in Leicester, or Leicester, whichever side of the road you live on. But sang with Squire for about 5 years, and then I came here to Dollywood in 94, and so I've been this is my 26th year here at Dollywood and singing with the Kingdom Heirs. So yeah, that's kind of my music career in a nutshell.
Yeah. Well, if you would tell me a little bit more about your time with the Kingsmen.
Well, like I said, I was just kind of. Getting started. It was my first real full-time job in the music business, and I always loved the Kingsmen. I grew up. Ray Dean Reese, that sings bass with the group, is actually my third cousin, and so he in fact he got his start in one of the quartets that my dad sang in. My dad was the one that got him started singing bass after he got out of the service, and so had a little tie there with him, and so we would go, anytime they were in town, we'd go, and so I always loved that sound, the excitement that they had, and of course, back then, they had a full band and all that kind of stuff, and so that was actually where I got my start. Was I played bass. I was hired as a bass player, and then I sang some, and then as the years went on, I started singing a little bit more. But loved being with the Kingsmen. I mean, it was just it was a dream come true. We did a lot of traveling, and but when you're young, it don't bother you too bad, So, but I enjoyed. That was a great time in my life. I got to meet a lot of great people and do a lot of incredible things.
Which of their projects were you on?
First album was that we did was called Better in Person. It was a live album, and we did Game of Life, and then we did Opryland live, and we did Live in Mississippi, and we did we did a bunch. Did a little bunch of table projects. That's kind of some of the mainline stuff. But there's several albums out there. Mostly, we were kind of known for doing live albums. That was part of the draw, I think, of the Kingsmen was capturing that excitement and on an album,
right,
and on a recording, and that was kind of what people really enjoyed. So we did a bunch of those, in the '80s. That was kind of, and it was the era of the band, Battle of the Bands. All the groups had bands and that sort of thing. I miss that nowadays. I miss that. It's one thing I love about Kingdom Heirs. They've stayed true to the band, and we're one of the few groups that actually have a band, and so that's cool. When you're used to that and then you don't have it, you can miss it. So,
tell me about how did you first meet Squire Parsons?
I met Squire. I was actually I went to church with Squire. I started going to Trinity Baptist Church and as a teenager, and of course I was in the youth group there, and then so Squire went to Trinity. Ernie Phillips and then Wayne Maynard that was with the Kingsmen. There's several. The artists that actually went to Trinity, and so
that's a group right there.
Yeah, absolutely it is. Absolutely it is. And so we kind of got, I kind of got to know them there, and then of course when I went with the Kingsmen, the cool thing about the Kingsmen is, once a Kingsman, always a Kingsman, and so you had you have a tie with them, and so started getting close with them, and they become great friends, and had the opportunity to sing with Squire and Ernie. So that was another kind of a dream come true, and I grew up in church, and so a lot of times, as you grow up in church, you learn kind of what to do, what to say, how to walk, how to talk, that sort of thing. But, to really come to know the Lord, it's not just a head knowledge, it's a heart knowledge, and so I actually wasn't saved till I was 18 years old, and I realized that I just kind of been playing games, and kind of fell under conviction at a revival when I was 18. And got saved, but God has been good to me. We trust Him with our tomorrow, and we just trust that He has the best for us in mind. And Scripture says, if we acknowledge Him in all thy ways, He'll direct our path. And that's what I've tried to do, is try to stay focused on what He would have me do, and just kind of follow Him. Sometimes I think, well, should I have went left instead of right, or that sort of thing.
Right.
In those situations when you don't know what to do, I think if you trust the Lord and just really, just say, Lord, I don't know what to do. I think He directs you in the right path.
Right.
And sometimes we rebel and don't do exactly what He wants us to do, but He He has a way of getting us back to where we're supposed to be. And so, I feel very fortunate that God has used me through the years, and in spite of me, He's used me, and I feel very blessed. Very blessed.
I think that'll definitely always lead you down the right path.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
If you can put it into words, how do you think that Squire has influenced your music now?
Oh, wow. Well, Squire, got his start with the Kingsmen also back in the 70s. And then when Squire left the Kingsmen, he went out as a solo, in a solo ministry. He was one of the very first solo artists that actually used soundtracks. He was kind of the beginning of that. And so, honestly, he started everybody that has ever had a solo ministry, and even the sound, used soundtracks. I mean, he actually was probably one of the very first to begin to use that. And so, if it wasn't for Squire, you think, well, probably somebody else would have done it, but he, kind of got everybody started doing that. So I think every solo artist in the world owes him a little bit of respect.
Now, of course, you're with Kingdom Heirs.
Yes.
Tell me about how that job came about.
Well, I used to come over to Dollywood, just like everybody else, because it was close to Asheville. You could kind of run over in a day and kind of deal, and used to come over and ride roller coasters and all, it's like everybody. And of course, Kingdom Heirs have been at Dollywood since 1986. Actually, before that, before it was actually Dollywood. But in '86, when they changed the name to Dollywood, and that was the first year that Kingdom Heirs began full time here, and so I knew the group and knew the guys through the years, not real close, but I used to come over in the early '90s, and for the day and that sort of thing. Of course, they were singing. I loved to hear them sing. I'd go sit, and so I was, kind of got to know them a little bit better, and I was also working at a recording studio in Asheville. And Steve French called me one day, and he said, "Hey, if anything ever came about, if I needed a lead singer, would you be interested in singing?" And I said, "Well, you never say never." And I said, "Sure, I'd be interested," because I loved what they did. I thought it was a unique and incredible opportunity that God had given them, kind of an open platform in a secular theme park.
Right.
And so I loved what they did. And so, sure enough, a few months later, he called me and he said, "Hey, my lead singer's leaving, first of the year." I said, "Would you be interested?" And I said, "Well, let's get together and talk." And so we got together and sang a little bit just to see how it sounds. And because, that's the thing with quartets, just because you can sing or play an instrument sometimes doesn't actually mean that you fit. And so, you have to kind of go through that to see, well, does it sound good? That sort of thing. And so we got together and kind of got around the piano and sang a few songs. It sounded good. So, I prayed about it. And I thought, this is not only a great opportunity, but I kind of gotten where I didn't really like to travel a whole lot.
Yeah.
And this was kind of the best of both worlds. I got to do what I love to do, is sing, and I didn't have to get out and beat the road. I could sleep in my own bed every night. And so that's a real blessing. So, that's kind of where it started, and from there,
Yeah. I think as far as quartet singing, it's a pretty unique opportunity. What did it mean, for the Kingdom Heirs as a group, I guess? For those who don't know, Kingdom Heirs are here at Dollywood 10 months out of the year?
We're here 9 months out of the year.
9 months out of the year.
March through the end of December, first week of January.
Yeah. And you guys do shows most days of the week. And
we're here 4 or 5 days a week, depending on the season, that sort of thing. We do 3 or 4 programs a day.
What did it mean for the Kingdom Heirs as a group when Dollywood signed that contract?
Well, like I said, up till '86, the guys were working just a few months a year. And of course, in '86, the park wasn't actually open all year long. It was only open about 6 months, and so they traveled 6 months and sang 6 months. By the time I came with the group, they had just started opening for Christmas, like a year or two before that. And so that kind of expanded. Of course, when I first came with the group, the park didn't open until the end of April. And as the years have gone off, we've opened up, it's like a week earlier every year. So we kind of got in the 1st of March now that we open. And so right now we're only traveling and singing about 5 or 6 weeks in the wintertime.
Yeah.
And so for the most part, we're here the rest of the year.
Yeah.
So it's a very unique opportunity, and like I said, we don't have to run up and down the road.
Yeah.
And that presents its own opportunities. The cool thing about here is, the kind of the world comes to us.
Right.
Really. People from all over the world, just because it's Dollywood, they will come to the park, and because we're inside a big theater, and they'll come to a program where they may not know who we are, what we do.
Yeah.
But they'll come to a program, and we have folks come down. They go, "Man, we didn't realize this music existed." So,
Right.
So it really is an incredible opportunity to not only introduce our music, but to present the message of Christ to the world. Really.
Yeah. I would think that's really, number one, exposed a lot of people to Southern gospel that wouldn't have been, and maybe even started some lifelong fans.
Absolutely, yeah. And we've had folks. We have folks that come, several times a year, and we have regulars that come almost every day.
Yeah.
That we're here. It is a unique opportunity.
Yeah. Well, over the years, your group's stayed pretty well in the limelight in Southern gospel. There's been a lot of Singing News Awards and Dove Awards in there for you guys. I guess tell me a little bit about, what the Kingdom Heirs, not necessarily the whole history, but, a little bit of the history and maybe what the future looks like for the Kingdom Heirs.
Well, like I said, even before Dollywood, the Kingdom Heirs worked here even in the early 70s.
Mm-hmm.
They would work, 2 or 3 days or a weekend or a couple of weeks, that sort of thing, through the years. And even when, the Kingdom Heirs really began, they were just teenagers, and working summer jobs, kind of deal, and it was kind of this was kind of a job for them to come and work here at Dollywood and sing, and in those days, they'd be here 8 or 9 hours. They'd sing, it wasn't nothing to do 8 or 9, 10 shows, a day, but that was young,
Yeah.
And so then, through the years, like I said, when it became Dollywood, it opened a lot of other doors that, kind of our industry started noticing, because we were picking up a whole new audience for our music.
Mm-hmm.
And so God has blessed that and used it.
I wanted to talk a little bit about, actually first, the Kingdom Heirs, as any group, sees a lot of different faces throughout the years. Tell me about the current lineup of the Kingdom Heirs.
The current guys we got, of course, Chris French is he's the only original guy that's been here for 40 years. He started in about 81 or 82, I think. And then Dennis Murphy, our drummer, mm-hmm. He's been here for 30 years playing drums. And Dennis has got a long history in Southern gospel music. He played with a group called the Greens. Many of you remember them back in early 90s. And so he's been here for 30 years. And then, of course, our piano player, Andy Stringfield, he's been here about 14 years, and just does a wonderful job playing and singing, whatever, and then whatever needs to be done. And then Jeff Chapman has been here about 18, 19 years now, bass singer. He's from Brunswick, Georgia. And, Jeff's got a long career in Southern gospel music, sang with the Anchormen, and which I tell you, I think he's one of the best bass singers that really ever walked on stage. He's really tremendous. And then, of course, Lauren Harris. Lauren has been with us now about 5 or 6 years, and many people remember Lauren. He sang most notably with the Perrys and with the Wilburns, and so he's got a long history in Southern gospel music. He sings baritone. Mm-hmm. And then the new kid, Jacob Ellison. Jacob came with our group in 2021 in March. Mm-hmm. And he is from Candler, North Carolina. So he's kind of a local boy. And it's funny, he actually went to Trinity, but I was over here by then, so I really didn't know him. But when we were looking for a tenor singer, Jacob was in college. He was at Lee University and had been there for 4 years. So when I was looking for tenor, he was kind of off the radar for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because he was in college, so he was kind of out of the pocket, And but once we kind of knew he was who he was, everybody was like, "Oh yeah, we remember Jacob," but he's been in college, so
Yeah.
But he's doing a fantastic job. He's 24 years old and just a kid, but he's doing a great job.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk about some of your recent recordings, and it just so happens that today, the day that we're doing this interview, a new CD is coming out.
It just released on iTunes and the streaming and all those services, and this has kind of been a different album. We actually started this album about a year ago, looking for songs, and then we went in, and the record company wanted to try something a little different because of the streaming services and that sort of thing. They decided what they wanted to do. They wanted to do half the album, and they wanted to release a new song every month for about 5 or 6 months, and then before the album came out, just a streaming, just to kind of build some anticipation for the album. So we went in and recorded the first 5 songs the end of last year, and then kind of went in and did most of the vocals on those also. And then Jerry Martin, sang tenor with us for about 10 years, decided he wanted to retire at the end of this year. And so we kind of had to go back after Jacob came and kind of reevaluate the songs that we had, make sure that they fit us now.
Yeah.
And then we actually picked out different songs, really, to kind of fit the sound and to fit Jacob. And so we kind of almost restarted the second half of the album. Then we had to go back and re-record some of those. So we worked on this album for a long time, and so we're really excited about it coming out. But it's some ways it's a little different, but it's still Kingdom Heirs, and we're real excited about this album. I'm as excited about this album as I have been on anything in a long time.
So tell me, what kind of songs are on there? What can fans expect?
Well, we did the title song, I Feel a Good Day Coming On, we actually did with a new up-and-coming trio called the Three Heath Brothers. And we had worked with them some last winter on a couple of concerts. And of course, I got to know those kids. They were, and I say they're kids because really when I first met them, they were like 14, 15 years old. And they were, I was going to lunch one day, and I saw these 3 young men, and they were dressed alike, and they were out and they were shooting some videos and stuff. I thought, well, that's kind of odd. So I just went over to them and just introduced myself, and they told me who they were, and we talked for a minute or so. Asked them if they were coming to the next program, and they said, yeah. And so on the way back to the dressing room, I just Googled their name and came up on YouTube, and I listened to them, and I thought, well, these kids can sing. So they came to the program, and I just got them up and let them sing a song a cappella, and people just fell in love. I mean, boy, they just took to them really well. And so we kind of got to know them there, and I thought, it'd be cool to do something kind of a, old guys and new guys kind of deal.
The Kingdom Heirs had a new single release in May, I think. Jesus is Enough. Tell me about that song.
Actually, that Jesus is Enough, actually we released it to streaming. It was a song written by Dennis Murphy, our drummer, and he got the idea for the song. Actually, a lady, a couple of years ago, we were down in South Carolina at a concert, and after an intermission, actually, she came up to me at the table, and at the record table, and she said, I've listened to y'all for years, and she said, I come to Dollywood, and I come see you on the road. She said, I've got just about all your CDs. And she said, I listen to your music. And she said, there's one underlying message that I receive from all of your music and everything that you say and talk about. And she said that Jesus is enough. And I said, well, that's exactly the message we want to get across. And so Dennis kind of got the idea for the song. And it's a new song featuring Jacob. And it's a great song. And that is the message that we want people to receive.
Right.
Jesus is enough.
I mean, as I was listening to it at the show just now, I think it really showcases all the different parts of the band.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good aspect of that song.
Yeah. It's got tenor, it's got the bass.
Yeah.
It's got That's it.
A project you guys had a couple of years ago, I think it's called Everything in Between.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about that right there.
That album is a little bit different album than we ever recorded. I wanted to. I've been wanting to do an a cappella album, and I never could really sell the record company on it because those are kind of novelty albums. They're not easy, because some people don't like acapella, especially a whole album of acapella music. And so sometimes you have to kind of pick and choose your battles, So, but I wanted to do some acapella stuff, and we hadn't done a band album in a long time, and so I kind of sold the record company on kind of doing a half and half. So we did 5 acapella songs, and the band did 5 instrumental songs, and then we did some songs that that included the band and the albums and the vocals, and so it's kind of a mixture of some things. So it's a little bit different, but it was fun to do. The acapella stuff is fun to do. It's not everybody can do acapella stuff, but our guys are just super talented.
One of your recent projects, The Last Big Thing, is another great one. Y'all had several hits on there, I think.
Yeah.
That's another one of my favorites. Tell me about that album.
Yeah. That album, The Last Big Thing, was as a title song off it. It was written by Diane Wilkinson. And it kind of talks about, we all know, people think, well, what's the next big thing coming up, And we know that the coming of the Lord is going to be the absolute last big thing that ever happened. Yeah. So that's kind of the message behind that song. That album was a lot of fun to do. It's got some great songs on it. Yeah. And that's when we record albums, a lot of groups, really all they kind of want to do is get 1 or 2 songs that they could sing off the album, and then the rest of them are kind of they're great. They may be good songs and that sort of thing, but a lot of times they don't sing them. We sing so much here that we sing just about every song on the album, right? Just because, for us, just to keep it fresh for us. And so when we pick songs for an album, we pick songs that we want to sing, and so we just, so we kind of go a little extra hard at picking songs and making sure that they're what we want to do.
I know there's so many albums through the years there, but I think one of my favorite songs that I've heard today is one you guys sang there called He Locked the Gates. Mm-hmm. Yeah, tell me about that song.
Yeah, that was the #1 song for us. That was written by Rodney Griffin, and great song. Perfect quartet song. Kind of features everybody. Yeah. Every part. The tenor has a part, lead singer has a part, baritone. The bass singer has a part in it. And that's your typical quartet song. And those are getting fewer and fewer coming around. Because used to, everybody wrote quartet songs and that sort of thing. But it takes a little bit of a knack to do that. And Rodney does a great job at that. But, yeah, that was a #1 song for us.
Mm-hmm. A couple of years ago, you guys did the albums, I think, the old Red Book songs. Mm-hmm. Tell me about those.
Well, we kind of the first one we did was kind of an experiment to see, if people would still enjoy the old songs out of the Red Book, Churchback Hymnal, and a lot of people grew up singing out of that book. Most churches, a lot of churches had that. Even the Baptist church, that's the Church of God hymn book, but the Baptists, the Baptists had that book. That's what we sang out of. We had two. Growing up, we had 2 main song books. Growing up, we had the church, the Redback Hymnal, and then we had the Broadman. And we sung out of the Broadman on Sunday morning, and then sung out of the Redback Hymnal on Sunday night. Because it had great songs. We decided to do one and just see how it would come across, because you could do volume after volume of great songs out of that song book. And so we ended up doing 4 volumes of it because people just love it and love hearing those old songs, because a lot of people grew up singing those and hearing them in church, and so they bring back a lot of memories. So that's a fun series of albums. We'll probably do another one. I actually have got the songs already picked out and some of the music already done. Just hadn't got around to it. Of course, that was kind of when Jerry was going to leave, and so it kind of got put on hold. So I'll probably do another one of those.
Yeah, I mean, my church still kind of does that a little bit. We, I don't remember the name of the book, or it's I want to say it's like Songs of Rejoice or something like that. But there's these old, and they're actually blue books. They're smaller, and they're so old now they're almost falling apart.
Yeah.
But usually we'll get them out on Sunday nights, and we'll do requests. People will shout out a number, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
A lot of memories in that,
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now, you've actually had your hand at writing a few songs, right?
I've written a few songs. I've not written a lot. I just never felt like I had a knack for that. I tried the writing, and I just didn't, I probably felt stuck with it maybe. But I don't know. That's, a long time ago, I thought, you know what? Somebody has to sing these songs. That all these writers are writing, so I just kind of stuck to that. But, but I've had my hand in a few songs over the years that have been okay. Yeah.
I guess kind of switching gears here a little bit, or actually, let me ask you this question first. What would you say is your favorite Kingdom Heirs album?
Probably, well, I tell you, man, I love this new album. It's probably one of my. Of course. Anytime you do a new album, it's always your favorite because it's the newest and it's the freshest, But I really, really like this new album. I love the song, every song on it. I don't think there's a dull song on it. And I think spending the extra time that we took on it to make sure that the songs really fit us and not just going ahead and recording songs that we, picked before. So, I think that's one reason. But the other album that is my favorite that we've recorded is called Forever Changed. I love that album. That's a great album, and that's my favorite song that we still do. I love that song. It's kind of my testimony song.
Yeah. So I kind of want to switch gears here a little bit and talk about the SGMA.
Okay.
Tell me about what you do with the SGMA and what's it like being the president?
Well, I actually became president about 7 years ago. At that time, it was kind of a 2-year term, and we'd had a bunch of great presidents as through the years that have done a lot for our music and a lot for the SGMA. And for those of you who don't know what that's, Southern Gospel Music Association. And we had, at the time we had the museum and Hall of Fame was here at Dollywood. And so it kind of made sense because I was here right next door, theater was right next door to it. And
I imagine that must have been convenient.
It really, it was. And of course, I kind of worked in it and helped a lot. And so, but I kind of passed on it several years just to kind of keep other people involved and keep interest in it. But we lost our director, and so we kind of need somebody to kind of take over that and take over some of the clerical stuff and some of the day-to-day things. And so I thought, well, it makes sense. I'm right here, and so I can kind of help doing, and it's not a too strenuous, so I can kind of do it during the day while I'm here and that sort of thing. But it's kind of over the years it has kind of evolved, and then of course 2020 came along. And all the indoor shops and things closed. And so we actually closed the whole year of 2020. We opened up the first day of Dollywood, March the 13th, and then we were supposed to open up on the 14th. Of course, that's when the whole world shut down.
Right.
And we never opened back up. We knew at some point, because of where the Hall of Fame was at, and that's the next expansion area for Dollywood. And we knew at some point they were going to move us to a different place on Park. They were going to build us a new place and move us just because they needed the space to grow. And so we knew within 4 or 5 years that they would move us. Well, that process continued, but because of 2020 and all involved with that, and of course everybody that experienced that knows that money quit coming in. Well, the money went away to build the building, and so that's kind of, we kind of lost our lease there, and so the museum closed. And we're very grateful for Dollywood and the time that they gave us. They gave us 20 years. That we couldn't do it without them, and it was the right thing at the right time. and then, but I believe that whatever's next will be the right thing at the right time. And
Right.
so we're just trusting the Lord that, this may be a door closed. And I hate to see it because it's kind of an end of an era.
Yeah.
But those things happen. And, we move on, and I think God has something greater in store for us.
Right. And I know this is, just like you were talking about, this is such an odd time for the association. Tell me about, like, the search for a new home for the museum.
Yeah, we're trying really hard, and I think, we're going to pull it off. I'm not sure of the time frame, but we're really trying to stay in the area.
Mm-hmm.
Simply because, that there's well over 2 million people that come to this area.
Mm-hmm.
They're already here. So if we can just figure out a way to where we can get just a fraction of them to come see us, we'll be okay. So it's just finding the right building, the right place, and the right situation. But we're just trusting the Lord. He'll guide us and put us in that spot when it's right.
Yeah. So I think I'm going to kind of wrap up here.
Okay.
I always end my shows with a gospel song.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, most all yours will be gospel, but I think I want to end the show featuring you with I Want to Do More.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about that song and what it means to you.
That's another song that Dennis wrote, our drummer. And it should be, every Christian's motto is to do more each day for the Lord. And that's kind of the idea behind this song, is I want to do more, I want to do more, I want to do more. To help spread the words. Help, we're only here temporary, and the Bible says that our life is as a withering grass. It's a fleeting. It's like a mist, and we're gone. And so that time, my grandmother, when I was growing up, my grandmother had a plate that she used to. You could buy things, and then you would get stamps, and you could take them and send them and trade them in, and companies would send different things, coffee cups or plates or something.
The green stamps.
Yeah, exactly. And my grandmother had a plate. I believe it was white lily flower. I believe that put this out, and it had a phrase on it that I just, every time I go to her house, I'd read it, and as older I got, it become real to me, really. It says, only one life will soon be passed. Only what's done for Christ will last.
Wow.
And I love that because truly, we can make a mark for ourselves, but that just lasts for some time, and it's gone. But our contribution to spreading the gospel, to drawing other people to Christ, that's what will last for eternity.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we may not see the harvest down here, but when we get to heaven, the Raybolt song "Thank You" is a great song that talks about that. You may not know who you encouraged or who came to know the Lord through your witness or through just somebody watching your life, and when we think about that, at some point in time when we're in heaven, they may come up to us and say, thank you, that because you did this, because you gave, because you worked behind the scenes, because you swept the parking lot at the church, I became a Christian and I came to know the Lord. So big or small, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
God doesn't see big or small. He's our effort.
Right.
And that's what we should aim.
Yeah. Well, I do appreciate you sitting down with me, Arthur.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
To keep up with Arthur and all the Kingdom Heirs,
Yep.
you can visit their website, kingdomheirs.com.
KingdomHeirs.com. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, everything pretty much. You can find us.
Yeah. Tell them one more time where they can find that new album.
New album, you can go to iTunes, go to Amazon, any of the streaming online places. You can get that. Google. It's available today. So go get it. It's great. I think you'll love it.
All right.
I tell you what, if you get it and you don't like it, just delete.
That's all right. Yeah. Thank you, Arthur.
Thanks, pal.